Done.
Thank you, Jen. All right, so good morning, everyone. My name is Kim Lindquist. I'm the Director of Events and Marketing for the Exeter Area Chamber, and welcome back to our Virtual Connect. It's our weekly Zoom meeting, full tip connection area where we want to bring everyone together and talk about, something kind of COVID-19 related, but try to focus on, the good things that we can do, for your business to make sure you're thriving now and in the future. And today we thought we would focus on your business processes and, what are you doing? What can you be improving upon? What are you missing in your business practices? And how can you and how these steps can really set you up for success when we all open back up once this is all over. So that's what we'll be focusing on today. We've got our resident expert and women's group active members here. We've got Joanna Bramer from Lighthouse Advisory here. She has her business and she helps small businesses achieve their full potential through smart financial planning, process improvements, and management efficiency. So the absolute perfect person to be talking about this today. I've also got kind of a testimonial person here as well, Jenny Bishop from White Wave Photography. She worked with Joanna to kind of get to do all these things for her business, and she can certainly speak to the importance of not only working with Joanna in particular, but doing these things in general for your business, how it can really set you up for future success and being able to do the things and expand your offerings, expand your knowledge of what you do, so you're able to continue to be successful and keep your clients happy and keep yourself in business. So welcome, ladies, both to you. And then I'm going to just do a quick around the globe here of who's on. So I've introduced myself, Jen Wheeler. If you wouldn't mind kicking off introductions, just name and who you're with.
Well, hey, everybody.
No one's aware.
Yeah, I know. That's more of an existential question, but Jen Wheeler, nice to see you all. President of the Chamber. Thanks for joining us today.
All right, Brenda.
Brenda Richards, a Seacoast Score mentor, working with many clients worried about this situation.
All right, thank you. Tina. Oh, I can't hear her.
Oh, Tina might be on mute.
Yeah. Oh, Tina, you're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so Tina LaRoche with Creative Office Solutions. Fairly new and struggling, and it's just really hasn't kicked off yet, but I'm not giving up.
Good.
It's one of those, I have to be in people's space, but I think I need to really focus on pivoting to offering Zoom and virtual consultations. So that's what I'm starting to think about.
Good for you. Kim Wood.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Oh, perfect. I did a new setup at my home office. I'm Kim Merrill Wood, Merrill Insurance. Just hanging out at my house with my cat.
Thank you, Kim. Steve.
Good morning, Steve Spalje, Northwestern Mutual. I'm a financial advisor and huge fan of all things Chamber and certainly of Lighthouse too, so wanted to check things out.
Perfect, thank you. And I hope I don't butcher his name, Dorianne Barr at the bottom there. Nope.
She's also on mute.
Yeah, you're on mute if I'm saying your name right. Hold on.
Hello.
She just said hello. Okay, well that's a good start. Bobby, who are you?
I am Bobby Vandenball. I am the Director of Member Partnerships at the Exeter Area Chamber. Hi, all. Nice to
Thank
see
you, Bobby. Jenny Bishop.
Oh, Jenny Bishop from White Wave Photography here in Newfields.
And I'm gonna turn it over to Joanna in just a second, just a quick update for you folks on kind of what the Chamber has for resources for you folks. So as you know, our resource page is right on our website, on our homepage. I will share all of those links in the chat. So anything you want to kind of mark, that's kind of your one-stop shopping for, anything COVID-19 related, whether it's financial help, business help, general information, how to utilize the Chamber website to your links to be able to email Jen, Bobby, or myself. So make sure you're utilizing that page. We also have the Seacoast Strong Business Forum Facebook page. I will share that link as well in the chat. That's a great place to go just to kind of share success stories, share ideas with our small business owners. Because as we all keep hearing, we're all in this situation at some level. So anything we can do to help each other and lift each other up is going to get us through this. And always check out the Exeter Area Chamber of Commerce Facebook page. We always do updates there, share good news, updates from any of our members that we want to get out to you guys. That's important. You know, we're keeping that active and as positive as possible in this situation. So make sure you're checking out all of those avenues with us. And like I said, I'll share those links all in the chat so you have those so you can make those readily available on your desktops. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Joanna Bramer of Lighthouse Advisory to kick off our discussion today. Thank you, Joanna.
Hi, I'm glad to be here, and thank you guys for giving me the opportunity. It's definitely something that I'm excited about, and although it's not the easiest of times for everyone, it is the perfect time to talk about working on your business and what we can do right now to help set everyone up for success in the future. So there are a couple things that I wanted to talk about, and I know they were listed out in the email that Kim sent out this morning. So I'm going to start with emergency planning and budgeting. This is right in my wheelhouse. I love financial reporting and I'm such an Excel nerd, so I'm very sorry if it's not your cup of tea. But there was a comment at a women's meeting a couple months ago that really resonated with me, and this is the perfect example of why right now is the right time to eat the biggest frog first. So if you don't have a budget, now is the right time to set one up. And one of the key things that I wanted to point out was everybody's right now trying to figure out how to really tighten their expenses, tighten their belt, and live and run their business on less. So taking a stoplight approach, going through all of your budget line items in detail, any recurring expenses, and classifying things as either green, yellow, and red. And when I refer to that, anything that red is something that you really can't run your business without. So now's the right time. You're not necessarily out meeting with clients. You're not, running a retail store. Whatever your business is, you've got more time on your hands to focus on the back end of your business. So going through those recurring expenses and seeing what you can do without. Anything that's yellow would be something that you really don't want to do without, but you could if you absolutely had to. So this sets you up for any future emergency where you know of your recurring expenses. If something happens, if there's a change, if there's a disaster, not necessarily COVID, if there were a flood or something that impacted your business directly, you would know immediately what expenses you can cut out and what you can trim back to help make yourself a more lean business for the future. Another great thing to do when you're budgeting is figuring out of these levels of your recurring expenses, what would it take in savings to get you 3, 6, 9, or 12 months down the road? And can you set up a target to say, okay, I want to be able to run my business on the core expenses for 12 months, for example, or I'd like to be able to run it for 6 months, including those nice to have items. And what does that number look like? And how can you achieve saving for that, either through trimming your expenses, allocating funds if needed, applying for small business loans or disaster loans, understanding what it takes to run your business in the long term and how you can cut back while things are kind of shaken up right now is really important to helping to run a healthier business. Another aspect that I'd like to touch on is cash flow analysis. So understanding for your business what receivables you have outstanding, what you expect to come in, and then also what you've got in savings. So understanding once you have that stoplight analysis of your expenses, how much do I have in the bank and how much am I expecting to bring in and how long will that carry me? A lot of this information is really helpful too if you have applied for one of those economic injury disaster loans. It'll help you understand how much you need to carry your business through whatever this looks like, be it 6 weeks or 6 months. So that will help you understand if I'm not bringing in the revenue that I typically do, what do I have outstanding and what will I need to keep my business afloat for the future? Now the fun stuff. So the next topic I wanted to cover was optimizing your time and resources. So this is more turning inward and understanding how you can use this time to your benefit. So what have you had lingering on your back burner that you haven't had a chance to do, that this might be the perfect opportunity to dive in? For example, if you do have a retail store, you know, do you hate doing inventory? Is that something that now that no one's coming in and out, you can sit down and really take a good inventory, see what you've got in stock, what's selling, what isn't, and how to best position yourself to reopen in the future? Are there redesigns of your space? Whether that's a retail or an office setting, are there upgrades that need to be done while things are shut down that you can take advantage of this slow time and actually dive in and make those changes? You know, I've seen a lot on social media. Places are doing renovations. People are taking this time to really figure out, what do I want to look like when we reopen, and making the best of the situation. You know, this is forced time to be closing our doors, and so let's see how we can really take advantage of that time off. The other thing that I've noticed were a lot of free web-based courses that are out there right now. So even if you don't have a physical space, what can you do and what can your employees do to improve themselves? There are free trainings from Seacoast Score. I've seen a number of other opportunities out there for training. If there's a certification you wanted to get, can you take the time away from meeting with people to actually sit down and take a training and sit for a certification when this is over? Do you already have a certification where you may need professional education to maintain it? Again, this is the perfect time. I know personally I have a PMP and I need 20 credit hours per year. This is the perfect time to actually sit down and take those courses when things are slower. Is there something that you or your employees have always wanted to dive into or expand your skill set that you may be able to get at a free or reduced rate right now? It's the perfect time to take advantage of that additional time on your schedule. And I know people are probably just like myself. They've got children at home or things that are impacting your normal day. These web-based courses are available whenever you're able to study. They're self-paced, so you don't necessarily have to be available at a set time to take advantage of them. On the flip side, are you a business that could offer training? If that's something that you've always wanted to dive into, it's the time to really figure out, okay, can I offer a Zoom course or Zoom consultations or some other video platform? I know that Exeter Y has been doing that recently with the courses that you could normally take, the fitness courses in the building. They're offering some of those at home over Zoom. So if your business is something where you can actually pivot and offer training, consultations, or whatever your service may be over video chat, see how you can take advantage of that. Try it out. You might actually find that it's a service offering that people want beyond when this opens. It may open you up to customers that you didn't have before. I know I've been talking a lot. And I think we were supposed to save questions for the end, but is there anything that anybody wants to ask questions or kind of touch on before I continue?
Can I just make a couple comments because
absolutely.
So working with Joanna, I've been working with her through this whole process as well, before and then after. And I think one of the biggest things that I have learned is the whole concept of pivoting my business. As a birth photographer who is currently not allowed in hospitals, it's a little hard to run a business. So I myself have created a bunch of tools that people can download themselves to take their own photos, so they're still capturing those memories. Really offering things that I normally wouldn't, because it would seem to take away from my business. However, I'm seeing a really positive thing from it. I'm using it as opt-ins for my email list, so later on I can talk to these people. I'm using Joanna and I sit and brainstorm all the time of how we can pivot. I did stupid Easter bunny photos that I never ever would have done ever.
They were adorable though.
They were. It was a cute concept. I can't take credit. It was from another photographer, but it was really cute, and it was something. And I think that one of the biggest things for me is trying to offer something, not necessarily to sell, but just a service, because I'm in the service business. So to keep serving my customers, even though I can't necessarily snap a photo of them. And I've even pivoted to start helping businesses. Businesses is not my gig. However, I have so many friends and clients and family who are struggling to help them. How do I take a good cell phone photo for my social media? Because everybody's on social media right now because there's nothing else to do. So I think in Joanna's point, as she's helping me to constantly look at my numbers and constantly look at where can I trim the fat, but what should I be investing during this time that I can be doing, furthering my education. And I gotta tell you, the photography community has been unreal with the amount of free education out there right now. And so I definitely highly recommend, if you can take any time to do any of those courses, it's well worth it. And one thing Joanna and I were actually talking about the other day, because we both have small children at home who are, even when we meet, we tend to meet with a child on our lap. It's really important to, especially if two parents are working at home, is to really nail down a schedule with each other of who's in charge of those children at the time, because we all need to keep afloat. Like, my husband's failing at the moment of keeping the children out of the house. However, so it's really important that, you say, I need this time to solidly work with no interruptions for this reason. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's truly something that has changed and will continue through my business after this. And things like Zoom calls and Zoom consultations are absolutely helping. And I already have bookings for the summer, so that's fantastic. And so there is a positive light. And I think if we keep up with the positivity, and it will be good. So there's my soapbox, sorry.
And I will add to that, not just nailing down a schedule, but also understanding that everyone else is in the same boat. Everyone is dealing with something, whether they have children or not. Everyone's flexible. Give yourself some grace, and understand that your client may not be available or need you at noon, but they might at 9 p.m. And having a little bit of flexibility in how you're available and understanding when others are is really important right now. And being able to shift yourself to meet the needs of your customers. So I do want to touch on refocusing strategy as well, because that's really important right now.
Can I ask a question first?
Absolutely.
Just going back to your eating the frog.
Yes.
So I'm in insurance, so lots of the conversations are, should they delay their bill? Because a lot of companies, insurance, electric, cable, they're all kind of saying, oh, you cannot pay now, but basically like splitting up it for like the rest of the year. I guess my question is, do you think it's good to pay like the biggest bill to like eat the frog, or would it be more paying 5 small bills?
That really depends on each individual business, I would say, and the terms of the bills and splitting it up. All things equal, I think it makes sense to spread things out when you can. The financial side of me says when you spread something out, if that money is sitting in savings, even if it's a little bit of an interest rate, you're getting, if you front a lump sum amount, you're losing out on that opportunity to gain interest over those 5 months. So all things equal, I would spread it out. I will also say, I know Steve's on the call right now, as all these opportunities are coming out for economic injury disaster loan, the PPP loan, utilities and credit companies are extending opportunities. Now's the right time to look at some of those and not just see what you need, but also what you can restructure, with a caveat that if you are going after anything like this, meet with your financial advisor or your CPA. It's really critical to understand what the terms are in each of these opportunities and how that will impact you in the long run. So understanding what's available to you and what the cost of it would be long term is really important.
Great.
And Steve, I'm gonna put you on the put you on blast. Is there anything you want to add? Because I know I haven't necessarily dug into the details of all of the loans, but I'm sure in your experience you've had to.
Yeah, no, people have, small business owners have tons of questions on this front, and anything from what should I do? Should I do this? Is this a good idea? Is it a bad idea? Oh, that thing is not for me. And I've had to answer a lot of those questions. So, yeah, I mean, high level, I encourage you to talk to whoever your advisor is and your CPA, just as you said. And that might work. If you're self-employed or if you're an independent contractor, you might be eligible for everything: unemployment, PPP, and EIDL. So definitely, you should consider it. PPP is not just payroll either, which a lot of people don't know, that you can actually, if you use the money for your mortgage or your rent, if you need that, then that portion could be forgivable. So there's definitely options.
Right. I believe payroll has to be at least 75% of the expenses you're covering. I think
yes,
that's the
but
number
again, if you don't have any
read.
employees, then payroll is a bit murky, right?
True.
So but yeah, it's still definitely an option. But yeah, I mean, to Kim's question, do you want to pay the big thing first? I mean, it really depends on the individual situation, and it comes back to just basic financial planning 101. If you have 25 grand worth of credit card debt, we want that gone as quickly as possible. And we don't necessarily need to look at overpaying our mortgage or, suspending things like insurance payments, because you're going to need to make those eventually. But
right.
Something that I have done for folks is just general budgeting questions. So people are really concerned right now with their budget and making ends meet, both through their business or through their on the personal side of things. Hey, look, my wife got laid off and I've had to take a reduction in pay. What do I do? And I can help people work through a budget. So does that answer your question?
I think that covers what I was asking. And
great.
Kim, is that awesome? All right. So on to strategy. So this is kind of the fun aspect of what I wanted to talk about today. And it's really internalizing, reflecting on yourself and your business and understanding, where do you want to be when this ends? A lot of people get into small business and things just kind of go, and they don't take the moment to sit back and reflect and say, is this what I really got into this to do? Is this where I want my business to be? Or have I gone down a path that maybe isn't quite where I want to? And how can I take this time to reflect on that and see where I want to be when I reopen? Specifically, are there evolving needs of your customers or clients that you can address in this switch to a more virtual environment? There are a couple of things that I've actually seen recently that I wanted to touch on that are examples of businesses really pivoting well. And one that I noticed a couple weeks ago, actually, when this all started, if anyone's familiar with Seacoast Harvest, they have actually initiated a community farmers alliance. So where we're all used to going to our farmers markets or your individual farm stores, they've kicked off an online market where you can shop from a number of different Seacoast farms and have that almost like a grocery delivery like you'd get from Walmart or Hannaford to go. That can be picked up or delivered to your house. Now that's something that is a specific need of the current environment that we're in, but there are also people that I'm sure would pay a fee to do that on a regular basis because they may not have the time to actually get out there and go to each of those individual farms. So finding opportunities like that where you can really, there's something that didn't exist in the market before, and now you've had the opportunity to build it. Finding ways to pivot your business to meet the existing and changing customer needs. You know, I've also seen the consignment store where I get clothes for my son. They're doing personal shopping through FaceTime. So things like that where you can actually meet with potential clients and say, okay, you know, here's what we have available. What would you like? We'll ship it to you or have it available for pickup. There are ways for retail businesses to remain in business and continue selling in an environment like this. And there are opportunities. I'm sure there are people on the Seacoast or elsewhere that maybe have popped into a store on vacation in Portsmouth, loved it, but that store doesn't have an online presence. This is the chance for those stores to either stand up an online store or offer those personal shopping experiences where they can reach customers that they wouldn't have before. And this has lasting impacts where they can continue this model, be it through set personal shopping hours or set appointments. There are ways to continue this into the future. So this is the chance to reflect on what you see an emerging need, and even think about your own personal self. What do you need outside of your business that somebody's not addressing right now, and how could that be addressed? So taking the time to really pivot. All right. And then the last topic I had was evaluating internal and external resources. So that's everything from, you know, we kind of addressed this earlier with the different loans and funding opportunities that are out there, but also taking a look, are there better credit opportunities? Are there better rates out there? Are there ways to restructure the funding you currently have available? And taking the chance, you know, if you're sitting down and you're doing your budgeting and you're trimming the fat and looking at your expenses, also look at what's available out there. How can you reallocate what you have, or what funding opportunities you might need in the future, and take advantage of those now. You know, if a line of credit is something that your business has always needed but you've never taken, are the rates such that you should jump in now and take advantage of how low they've dropped? So understanding what's out there and taking the chance to review everything so that you can take advantage of better rates, better resources, things that are available now that maybe haven't been in the past. So that actually covers everything that I had that I wanted to talk through today. Are there specific questions? Anything that people wanted to discuss? Kind of open it up.
I guess I'll kick it off with you, Joanna. So we obviously went through a lot. First of all, thank you so much for all of that great information. It's just so valuable just to kind of hear things kind of pointed out one by one and some areas to focus on. And you're just such a wealth of knowledge. So thank you for, one, being a member, and two, being able to offer this information to everybody. It's greatly appreciated. So as we all know, everybody's overwhelmed. We are all in the same situation, but everyone's kind of at varying phases of this. For a client or a business person you're talking to is just feeling overwhelmed and they just don't know where to start with the laundry list that you went through, where would you guide that business owner to focus on if they're just feeling overwhelmed and they're just like ready to cry because they just don't know where to start? What would you suggest to them?
So one of the things even before this that I like to talk with people about first is really the big picture. So when I touched on refocusing strategy, reflecting on where you want your business to be and what your short and long-term goals are is usually one of the best places to start. Everything else will kind of shift into place once you've taken the opportunity to think about that. So if, for example, your goal is, I want to have 10 employees in 5 years, that sets us up to then think about, okay, well, what does that look like and how do we get there? So as crazy, as it might sound, as diving into the big questions, that's always where I like to start, because I want to see what are your long-term goals and where do you want to be in the future? And then that helps us focus in on how do we get there? What are the benchmarks we can set along the way? Are there performance indicators that we can be tracking to see, what does that look like 3 years from now? How will I know that I'm on track in meeting that long-term goal?
Can I just make a comment on that? Because one thing that's how Joanna started the process with me, and what's been great through this process is we've taken those goals and said, okay, so we were supposed to spread it out over 12 months, but that's not happening.
Let's cut out one whole quarter.
Yeah, let's cut out a whole quarter and see what that looks like. So now I have some realistic goals for the second half of the year, like a full understanding of what that picture looks like. So I think as far as pivoting and like really diving into your numbers, that has made me not panic as much. I was like, okay, so that big number means this much small things. So breaking the bigger stuff down into smaller categories has really helped. And I think that Joanna does an amazing job with helping you really like breathe through the whole thing. So.
Bobby, did you have a question? I saw you waving at one point. You're on mute.
I was trying to get there. I was just going to say, I've been talking to some of the restaurant businesses, and this is kind of more of a statement than anything, but they are doing so well at the takeout that they are going to be continuing it, which I think is a great added bonus for these restaurants. It's kind of a silver lining out of a, kind of a
yeah, as a Washington DC native, I will say that moving to Newfields was an adjustment because I could not get sushi and Korean and anything under the sun delivered to my house like I could before. I have absolutely loved that DoorDash and takeout guys and the individual restaurants themselves are really making an effort to offer delivery, and that's something I will certainly take advantage of as long as this continues. And I hope that their expanded delivery radius keeps up long after this.
I just think it's interesting that something that potentially could be disastrous for a restaurant has turned out to be something so positive. And I think other retail businesses, if they look at this as, this could be a good thing as well, and how to plan for that in the future, having online presence will be
right
in the future.
What I think we've seen as well, there's a big focus on shopping locally and supporting small businesses. So finding ways that, bigger ideas can be brought to a smaller scale. I think a lot of people use the food delivery where you make it yourself. What is it, HelloFresh or some of those? Are there ways that farms can set up something similar where a local chef creates a recipe and it's sourced from local farms, and if you wanted to do that for dinner for your family, you could pick it up on Thursday night at this time window. Thinking outside of the box and being able to see, well, what are people taking advantage of? And if it was offered locally where you're supporting your neighbors and your community, would people join in? And I think the answer we're seeing is absolutely.
I could offer a couple of comments about your client base. So I think in these times, it's really important to review all the people that you are doing business with and think about how they are affecting your business financially and in the communication area. So I have a client who's a very sharp young businesswoman, retail and online. And last month alone, her online, 1,000%, I think. She brought in more money online last month than she had the previous year of that month. So it's really phenomenal. But her comment to me, which I want to share, is, so I saw that all of my local clients were very loyal to me and were buying locally, which is something that was just mentioned and very important. She said, I'm going to burn them out. There's only so much they can buy from me. So how do I reach out? And now this is my opportunity to really broaden my online presence. So knowing your client, knowing your current client base and how you might change that would be really helpful, I think, for a lot of small businesses.
Thank you, Brenda, for that. And that kind of leads into what my question was going to be, kind of for both Joanna and Jenny. I know you guys, Jenny has a very specific, product that she focuses on when she takes those photos. If you could talk about how the conversation went when you had to have that conversation about shifting your focus on your audience, who you're now trying to get business from now that it's a slower time and you're not able to go into hospitals. How did that conversation go, and how did you land where you landed? Kind of what was the process to land on the right thing to focus on and not just trees and flowers and everything?
Right.
How did you guys land to something that Jenny was comfortable with, but that you knew would be still successful for her in this time?
Do you want me to answer? You want?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I cried. No, and then so like I said, so I literally, as a business owner, I think it was important for me to take the first 2 weeks of this whole thing, craziness, and just take a breath, because I wasn't going to be able to do anything immediately that day. The second thing is when Joanna and I meet on a weekly basis, and text, chat, all the things, midnight, it's whenever the two of us can. And so I think really the first thing I asked for her was to say, okay, realistically, I don't know when I'm going to be able to get into hospitals. So what are the other things that I offer that I can beef up first? And then second, what does that look like based on the goals I have for myself this year? And, basically we took it as a June as my new starting for 2020. And what does that look like? Because luckily in my business, the second half of the year tends to be where most money is brought in anyway, with family photos in the fall and all of that. But it's not normally something that I promote heavily. I mean, I'm a birth and newborn photographer. But then also, Joanna's great about texting me random stuff like, hey, I saw this other photographer doing something and I think you could do it, but do it a little differently. And so really just kind of looking at products that I sell, looking at servicing offerings, and how can I pivot and do those online. I teach a photography class. I'm currently in the process of creating an online photography class, which is something I've always wanted to do and never had the time. So I think that has been one of the biggest things. And then the third thing is just continually talking about it and seeing where we're at and how is it constantly changing. And maybe readjusting some of my goals, because this year is just not the year. However, all those Corona babies are going to be really great. So I'm very excited for November, December, January, February, because all those babies. So we've talked about that too. Maybe I just pivot and next year's my big year. So,
Right.
So yeah, I guess that's where we started.
Yeah, I will say, I remember the call when I was like, hey, by the way, I looked at all of your historical data, and here's the percentage of your revenue that comes from June to December. And you're actually not behind at all. So being able, if you take that look at your budget and your expenses and all of your planning, that also gives you the opportunity to say, okay, well, if I don't reopen until June, what do those 6 months look like, and how do I need to adjust my business? Because not everybody has a stronger second half of the year. Some people, this is their prime time. And is there a way to then shift your cycle so that you can ramp up business in the late summer and fall?
And even one thing that Fingers crossed. All of you need to book for portrait sessions. No. One thing that we did actually, I came across the second weekend, I texted Joanna and I was like, so I just made a really big purchase and I know it's not in my budget, but with 3 kids home doing schoolwork, we needed another computer. So it was slated for the end of the year for me to buy a Mac and a new Mac for myself. And so I bought it early, which 1, helps our economy. 2, I use PayPal credit 0%. So I have those months to pay it off. And, but I'm not going into high interest debt, which is amazing. And 3, it's working so much better.
That's a great point too. Right now is the time that if you have equipment or any assets that you've been planning to upgrade, take advantage of the financing options and the prices that are out there right now. If you needed a new vehicle, whatever that may look like, now's the time to see, well, I was planning on it within the next year, but am I going to actually save myself more in the long run if I take advantage of what's going on right now? It seems scary to spend money in times like this. However, if you spend it wisely, it can be to your advantage.
Great. Thank you, ladies. Does anyone have any final questions for either Joanna or Jenny on this topic? No. All right, Joanna, if you want to share kind of when people walk away from this today, the 3 points they should take away from this Zoom meeting today, what would that be?
Ooh, that would be take a breath. I know it's a stressful time, but really take a deep breath. Remember that everybody is in this and you will come out the other side, so long as you are able to take the time to reflect on everything that you want your business to be. The second thing is don't be afraid of the numbers. Now is the time to really get your finances in order for your business, whether that means doing a budget that you haven't, restructuring your budget, getting things in order. If tax time is always crazy for you because you never organize things for your accountant until the 11th hour, figure out a way to get on top of it and set that in place now so that in the future, you're just running a report for your accountant and things are much easier. And 3, don't be afraid of where this takes your business. Be open to the new ideas and opportunities that are presenting themselves.
And everybody call Joanna. That's my plug for her because she's done amazing. And she's offering free consultations right now, which is really nice considering she's a brand new business herself. So
I want to be there for other small businesses. So if that means that my future clients will be open for business when everything, when we're 6 months down the road, then that's what's most important to me.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I love when I was kind of reviewing your website and picking out little nuggets to open it up with for you. The one from right on your homepage, you don't have to go it alone on your contact us. And I just think that's such a good testament. We all, even though we're all going through it, there are times when you do feel alone and you don't want to admit you need help. None of us want to admit that we need that. But I think now is the time where you kind of get a little humble a little bit. It's like, all right, what can I do for myself? And it only helps the whole effort. So I think that's a really good testament, and you obviously live and breathe that. So thank you very much.
Thank you guys for giving me the opportunity. This was awesome.
Yeah, no, great to hear from both of you. Thank you, Jenny, for hopping on with the chaos going on at your house this morning.
Pray for me. Pray for them.
I do every day. Well, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Joanna and Jenny, so much for sharing your expertise and how this whole process, works and how it's worked for both of you to both be very successful and be able to do what you do. And thank you to everybody for being on the call and asking your questions and sharing your insights. That's very important. Like I said, this will be on our resource page that I've shared in the group chat. So if you just need that follow-up and want to make sure you can access all of our resources, they're all on that page, so definitely check that out. Recording will hopefully be out there later today. Depends on how quick Bobby and I can get on that to turn it around. But just want to thank everybody for being on here, and thanks to Jen and Bobby for helping me and pulling this together, and Joanna and Jenny for being willing to share their knowledge and relationship with us. It's been a great discussion this morning, so thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
And I will share, if Joanna and Jenny are okay with it, I do have everybody here written down if I share your contact information with the group, so everybody
Absolutely.
can get in touch, and any follow-up questions you have for either Joanna or Jenny, definitely feel free to ask. And looks like Mrs. Jennifer Wheeler has a question in the top.
Sorry, just me. So number one, I want to echo Kim's thanks. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, Joanna. Thank you, Jenny, for sharing your insight. Thank you, Kim, for facilitating a great conversation. I appreciate everybody taking the time. You know, we're, as we talk about pivoting, the Chamber's doing the same thing as well. And so this Virtual Connect weekly call is sort of one of those things that we're doing, which is new for us. So if you have any feedback or other topics that you would like covered, or you think that other people would be interested in hearing about, please reach out to any one of us. You know, we're looking at putting together whatever this series looks like. So if there's something that you think would be helpful, we're always open for that feedback, whether it's about this or you know, anything else that you think that would be helpful for you or for other business owners. So you know, we want to make sure that you know that the lines of communication are always open, and we're always interested in your feedback. So thank you.
Yep. All right. Thank you, Jen, for that. And
Thanks.
if there's no other thoughts, we'll wrap this up. Thank you again, ladies, for being on this morning. And
Thanks,
let's
everybody.
try to have a good day out there.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
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 Bye.